All right, people, we are live on the internet, on the YouTube, for as long as they're going to allow this stream to be up. What are the chances we get monetized? We shall find out. We're going to crack the internet today because I am sitting between two people who I think are really at the forefront of what I think is an idea revolution on this planet Earth. They really don't need any introduction, so very quickly I'm going to say that this is Ben Shapiro to my left, this is Jordan Peterson to my right. I feel like we already did a private show. We did a show for our...
Was it a joke to put Ben on the left?
Oh, that you see what it was a subtle dig. You see what I did there?
Yeah. I feel slighted.
Actually, for the record, when Ben came in first, so I said, which side do you want to sit on? Ben chose the left.
Oh, I see.
Little Freudian there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just want to balance myself out.
Yeah, there you go. All right, there's a ton that I want to do with you guys. I want this to be as much a free-for-all as we possibly can. I've got a couple ideas here. I want to cover some new stuff. I want to do a little retread on some things that I think you guys have disagreements on, all that good stuff. But first, let's just start in the most broad sense, which is I truly believe at this point, on January 31st, 2018, we are in the midst of an idea revolution in this country, but I think the Western world in general. And I really, as I just said, I think you guys are both sort of at the forefront of it. I think this is in large part because of the chaos post-Trump, that everything's just kind of upside down, and I think people are trying to make sense of the world, and I think they're turning to both of you for that. Jordan, I'll start with you because you're in a suit, and I feel very
Jordan's
professional.
Man of the hour. I mean,
yeah, and you,
my goodness.
And for as busy as Ben and I might be, I mean, these last couple of weeks for you have just been bananas. Your profile has just exploded, and we're going to talk about some of the TV appearances that you've done recently, and some of that stuff, and lobsters and all that good stuff. But do you agree with my basic premise there that there's something happening right now? It's basically being ignored by the mainstream. And that this crew of whoever this is, and it's not even for me to say who's in it really, something amazing's happening.
I'm hoping that's what's happening is that we're actually beginning to elucidate the fundamental problems with identity politics, like the real errors in it, because I think they're wrong, and not just metaphorically, which is how a postmodernist would like to be wrong, but metaphorically and literally, that the path they're choosing is improper, and that you can diagnose that impropriety both from the perspective of literature, in terms of the story they're telling, it's a bad story, but also historically, it's a deadly story, and biologically, it's a story that doesn't hang together. So, and I think that we know enough now to actually, I'm hoping we know enough to subvert the fundamental postmodern claims. I believe that.
When did you start tracking this? Because I think a lot of people that watch us are just waking up to it now. You know, even me, I was on the left for a long time. I was a progressive. I bought into a lot of this stuff. So it's really only in the last 4 years or so that I really woke up to it. When did you really start tracking it?
Probably 1993, something like that, because there was a spike in political correctness. I was down in Boston from 93 to 98, and there was quite a spike in political correctness at the beginning of the 1990s. It kind of came to an end, I think, because the economy boomed so hard that it just wasn't that attractive. There wasn't enough resentment being generated to make an issue out of it. So, but I've been tracking it since 1993, but it really spiked tremendously in the last 5 years, I would say. Something's happened. We hit a tipping point of some sort.
Yeah, so let me ask you those 2 points. A, do you believe we're in some sort of idea revolution? And for you, because I think you've pretty much been a conservative as long as you've been on this planet. When did you wake up to this right when you got out of the womb? What was going on over there?
I was always, I think that there are two fundamental premises that I grew up thinking, probably based on parentage, maybe religious upbringing. One was personal responsibility, and the other was the idea of purpose. And it seems that since both of these two things have now fallen under attack, then what used to be mainstream common sense things that we all were searching for, right? That you can make something of yourself and that there's a reason to make something of yourself. Since all of this has fallen under attack and everything feels so chaotic, there's now a battle going on between people who are trying to search for these two things and people who are trying to discard these two things because they're trying to search for something else. And I think identity politics is a way of filling that gap. I think that's what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years. I do fault President Obama for some of this. I think that when President Obama was elected, there was a feeling in the country like we're finally going to come together and we're going to rally around, we're going to put behind us the worst conflict this country's ever had over the issues of race. And then when President Obama didn't actually do that, when he used, as politicians do, he used political differences in order to divide people for political purposes, I think that set off a new chain reaction of allegiance to identity politics that has created in response this sort of reactionary moment, some of which is bad, but some of which is very good, where people say, well, I'm not going to find my purpose in identity, and I'm not going to find personal responsibility in identity because the two things don't correspond.
So I'm glad you said personal responsibility, because I think that's really what the three of us are basically offering people. I mean, I keep telling my audience, this is your life. You don't have to listen to me. I'm going to tell you what I think. Hopefully you'll hear from my audience or from my guests and hear what they think, but figure it out for yourself. You do it on a very political level, like the government's not supposed to tell you what to do with your life. I think you're doing, I mean, the reason you're telling people to clean up their room, sit up straight, all the rest of it, it's about personal responsibility. How did that get so lost? Because that's what, right? I mean, you're going to be at the Orpheum tonight. Thousands of people are going to be there, and what you're going to be talking to them probably amongst many things, but it's about getting your shit together.
Well, I think part of it is the assault on the idea of that there is a purpose. For me, that was catalyzed probably 150 years ago by Nietzsche when he announced that God was dead in his non-triumphalist way, because for Nietzsche that was a catastrophe. And what that means is that really what that means psychologically is that the metaphysical idea of a transcendent purpose has been destroyed. And Nietzsche said that'll